Have my intro slide. Good evening, everyone. We are here tonight for a virtual neighborhood meeting for a proposed annexation at property generally known as 8902 Quail Road. This neighborhood meeting will discuss the annexation and concept plan proposals. Next slide. So with us this evening, again, I'm Jennifer Hewitt-Apperson. I'm a principal planner with the Planning and Development Department. With us from the city this evening are Phil Taylor, also from planning, and then from engineering, Marie Nicholson-Hutt, Jim Engstad, Sam Lanternier, and we have Mark Sampson from public safety, and then also Dallas Stiles, who is our live stream specialist who keeps everything running smoothly. From the applicant team, we have Tyler Erickson from Vista Residential Partners and Zoe Spears from Norris Design Group. So this evening's neighborhood meeting is a required part of the pre-application process. The city does not have a formal application under review at this time, and no decisions will be made this evening. This neighborhood meeting is intended to be informational for everyone involved. Staff will give an overview of the process for annexations, including the development code and other regulatory and policy considerations. Then the applicant will present their concept plan. At that point, we will take a 5-minute break, and instructions for calling in will be posted. If you wish to speak, please call in during the break to get into the call-in queue. All speakers will have 3 minutes. Instructions for calling in will be posted before the 5-minute break, so you have all of the information you need to call in and get into the queue. Dallas will also give an explanation of how to do that as well. So we get questions periodically about why do we do live stream meetings. So we found that this live stream format consistently allows for broader community engagement, and it also I've seen that it increases participation during the live portion of the meeting in terms of the number of people who can participate. And this format also enables a recording of the meeting to be available for future viewing on the city's YouTube channel for anyone who is unable to tune in live. So as noted, I'll give a process overview. The applicant will do their presentation, we'll do public comments, and staff will respond to any questions or comments that we receive, and then we will conclude the meeting. So next slide. As folks are probably aware, this particular property is 14.34 acres, bound by Quail Road on the north, Clover Basin Drive on the south, and located between Airport Road and Fordham Street. It's located in the southwest portion of Longmont. Next slide. So there was a previous application for annexation of this property that was under consideration last year. It was formally withdrawn at the city council meeting, in February. This is now a revised, the applicant has a revised development plan that he will be discussing this evening, and is basically starting the process over. So the annexation referral was considered by city council at their June 17th meeting. In terms of what an annexation referral is, it's not a decision on the annexation itself. It's simply a direction from city council, that the applicant can formally submit an application for annexation, and the staff should accept and review that application. It's simply direction. It's not an up or down vote on the actual annexation of this property. So in terms of how this process goes, so tonight we're at the neighborhood meeting. Following the neighborhood meeting, the application will make a formal application for annexation that will be reviewed by the Development Review Committee. The Development Review Committee includes many of the folks who are on this meeting tonight. So we have planners, we have engineers, we have public safety, we have parks and natural resources, and a number of other reviewers who are taking a look at this application to make sure it complies with standards. Following, once the Development Review Committee has completed their review, the application would be scheduled for public hearings before the Planning and Zoning Commission, as well as City Council. So there will be at least 3 additional sets of public notices posted on the site and mailed to property owners within a 1,000-foot radius of the property. Notices are required prior to the neighborhood meeting where we are tonight. They will be required upon formal acceptance of an application for review. So you'll see a sign that says notice of development proposal or notice of application. It'll be notice of application under review. So it'll be posted. There would be letters mailed, and there would also be signs posted, an additional set of signs posted, additional set of mailings done prior to public hearings by Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. Please do note that the notice signs are posted on private property, so they are not in the right of way. They are supposed to be posted on private property. In terms of the review timeframes, how long this is going to take, we've heard some questions about, asking when this is going to be at Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. The answer is we don't really know yet. So in terms of review timeframes, annexations typically have longer review timeframes. That initial application, it's typically anywhere from 45 to 60 days, usually closer to 60 days for that first review. And then subsequent reviews are generally 45 days. So I can't say how many review cycles will be needed for this project, but there are generally at least 2 cycles, and 3 is pretty typical. If the annexation is approved by City Council, there would then be applications made for preliminary plat, final plat, site plan, and public improvement plans. Preliminary plats do require approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission, so that would be an additional set of public hearings. Next slide. Let's see, that is not what I had on here. One moment, please. So annexation concept plans are typically pretty high level and do include parameters for development, but typically not really detailed site planning. In addition to making sure that all applicable development standards are met, we do have established review criteria that must also be met, that are established in our land development code. There are criteria for all application types, which are up on this screen. There's a code reference. I'm not going to go through all of them. That every application type we receive, we have to review and see if it meets those criteria in addition to the development standards. And then there are also additional criteria considered for annexations. One of the things we look at is compatibility and any impacts. So I will note that compatible doesn't necessarily mean the same type of development. We might look at our buffer standards being met, our residential compatibility standards being met when non-residential uses are proposed adjacent to residential. That's not the case here. We might look at buffer, our intensity and density of uses being, is there a transition, lower to higher where appropriate. We also look at, landscaping buffers, orientation of uses. We do have some pretty robust requirements in our code for landscape buffers, open space for residential developments, as well as orientation of uses and such. So with that, next slide. So there are additional, as I mentioned, additional criteria for annexations. Here's the code citation if you're interested in reviewing that. These are the things we look at here would be whether the proposal complies with state statutes. Is it within our planning area? Whether the zoning is appropriate based on the envisioned Longmont designation and proposed uses, and whether the annexation would create challenges for future annexation or development of adjacent and nearby properties. Next slide. So this particular property is located in an area designated as mixed neighborhood through the envisioned Longmont comprehensive plan. The location of this property in particular is generally located with a star on this site. So this is a larger area of mixed neighborhood. There is single family in the area as well. So there is a mixture of development types and anticipated development types in this particular area. Next slide. So as many of you probably know, we adopted Envision Longmont in 2016. The mixed neighborhood designation is just that, mixed neighborhood. It anticipates residential uses between 6 and 18 units per acre. What this means is it permits a range of single family, attached single family, so duplexes, townhomes, and smaller scale multifamily uses. So I will note that the maximum building height allowed in the mixed neighborhood designated areas is 35 feet or about 3 stories. This is actually the same maximum height that is allowed in single family designated zoning districts as well. 4-story buildings are limited to the mixed use and employment zoning districts. So that is not an option in this mixed neighborhood zoning district. This category is supposed to provide a mixture of housing options and densities and serve as a transition between single family neighborhoods and higher density corridors, mixed neighborhood, mixed use centers, or employment areas. So that is the intention of this particular district. Next slide. I wanted to give you a snapshot. This is the citywide future land use map. The Longmont planning area is indicated by the blue line around the map. This is our growth boundary. So all of the green areas on the map are permanently preserved open space of some sort. Some of it is owned outright by Boulder County, some of it's owned by the city of Longmont, some of it's protected through permanent conservation easements of some nature. But what this means is Longmont is pretty limited where it can grow. Next slide. So the property is located in this area indicated by with the blue circle is what was identified in Envision Longmont as an area of change. Next slide. What areas of change mean is basically that these are either undeveloped areas planned for future development or developed areas with potential for infill or redevelopment. This particular area kind of has characteristics of both. I'll also note that Longmont's comprehensive plans going back at least 30 years have identified this particular area as one that's appropriate for future residential development of some sort. So next slide. Also address this site, again, indicated by the red star, is part of a larger county enclave. This county enclave is outlined in red. This is an unincorporated area, unincorporated Boulder County area that is completely encircled by the city of Longmont. So it is in what is identified as the potential annexation area in our intergovernmental agreement with Boulder County. This particular intergovernmental agreement with Boulder County basically states that the city and county agree that these enclaves within this potential annexation area should be brought into the city to ensure that consistent facilities, services are provided and to ensure that future development is consistent with the goals and policies of the city. So that is, I just wanted to bring that up because this is a longstanding agreement with Boulder County. We have longstanding intergovernmental agreements with them and with our other counties and municipalities as well. Next slide. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Tyler to discuss what they're proposing, what's changed, and what they're looking forward to.
All right, next slide for the concept plan. There we go. Thank you, Jennifer, for your presentation, and thanks for everybody that is attending again online. As Jennifer mentioned, we are restarting this annexation process, beginning with the annexation referral. We have not made any official submittals to the city yet. That is our next step. So we're taking a fresh look at this project and are looking to submit in the next month or two to planning for their review, which will then lead into planning and zoning hearings and city council hearings. So we've got a ways to go on this. Major update, if you're looking at the Quail annexation map on the screen, we've broken this site into 4 different planning areas. Some of them look similar, some of them are a little bit different. One of them is for our partnership with Habitat for Humanity. That is one of the top 2 planning areas. The second planning area, number 2, We are carving out for a for sale partner. We have 4 groups that we're working with, all groups that I know pretty well that are Colorado based. We're looking to have them bring some for sale homes to this project in addition to the habitat. The for sale and the habitat are located on the northern boundary of the site, reducing the density up against the neighborhood. The third planning area is for multifamily, that's the brown area. And then the green area is planning area 4, that is all the open space. We're keeping that on the east side of the site. Currently, we're going to start working with this partner that we select to understand their lot needs, their road needs, their infrastructure needs, all of these sorts of things as we get into site planning with them. So our intention is to have a site plan worked out with the for sale partner and Habitat, all of us working in conjunction, and get that into the city for review. Currently, right now, about 20% of the site is allocated to Habitat, about 20% is allocated to the for sale partner, and about 20% is open space. And then 25 is allocated to multifamily, with the remainder being 15% of infrastructure and roads. There's quite a large road border along the planning area 3. You can see the ingress and the egress of the site. Those are all going to be eaten up by roads and infrastructure. As far as the plan goes, you'll notice the 2 access arrows on the northern part of the site. We are going to have 4 points of access into the site, 2 of them off of Clover Basin. We are still committing to only 2 entrances and exits there. The Larkspur will contain a roundabout. The blue arrows are emergency vehicle only. So that's still just allowing access as required by the city to allow a fire truck to get in there if needed, but they are intended to be emergency vehicles only and not full traffic intersections. The third arrow on the left side of the screen, that is access to the neighboring site. So that's important for us to plan with the city to not cut that parcel off. So we will be providing a full access intersection there for the neighbor. The open space along the east side, we're going to continue the trail, multimodal trail, connecting Larkspur up to the Schlegel neighborhood and the Quail treatment and the landscaping buffer up there. What that looks and feels like is going to somewhat depend on the for sale partner, their needs for those. So as we work with those new partners, we'll be able to form this out a little bit better. In addition to the multimodal, we'll have all the access points, the landscaping buffer, the right-of-way dedicated in the lower portion of the site. So the real big change here is bringing in a for sale partner, kind of breaking the site up a little bit. How that's broken up, we don't know yet. We'll work with the for sale partner once we select the winner and get Habitat in the room, and we'll all sit down and site plan this and get a submittal into Jennifer for review. So once we incorporate all those things, we'll make the submittal to the city officially. After Jennifer and Planning and Public Works have reviewed our submittal, we'll hold another in-person, this time in-person, not online, neighborhood meeting with you all to review the updated information. We should have a lot more to share at that point after we've had some rounds of review with the city. So yeah, more to come, much more detailed in the second neighborhood meeting that we'll host in person. And other than that, I think that's all we got for tonight.
Thanks, Tyler. I'll also note that the in-person neighborhood meetings that Tyler's referenced, those are being initiated completely by the applicant. They are not required by the city. So these are additional neighborhood meetings that he is planning to continue dialogue with the community. So with that, the next steps. So the next step is the formal submittal to and review of an application for annexation. We do not yet have an application accepted, but are under review. We are awaiting that submittal. As I noted, there are typically at least 2, usually 3 review cycles before the request is ready to be considered for public hearings. As noted previously, the first review cycle for annexations is typically 60 days, with subsequent reviews taking 45 days. This means that it'll probably be sometime this fall at the earliest before this would be considered by Planning and Zoning Commission. So we still have some time. There's still ways before any public hearings or any decision-making bodies consider this application. So once it is reviewed, it would then go to Planning and Zoning Commission, who make a recommendation to City Council. As I noted earlier, there will be notices posted on the site and mailed to all property owners within a 1,000-foot radius. Ahead of those meetings, at least 14 days ahead of those meetings. If the annexation is approved, there would then be subsequent applications and reviews before anything could possibly come out of the ground. So it's a pretty long process. Next slide. So again, I think I referenced this earlier. The next steps would be most likely a preliminary plat, which would require Planning and Zoning Commission approval. And then final plat, site plan, and public improvement plans. These are the detailed engineering plans and detailed site planning. That includes, the location of every tree and every pipe and, buildings and elevations and the really detailed plans. That's where we review those. Next slide. So I just want to make a couple of notes. There are a number of ways to be engaged throughout this process. Submitting written comments to planning staff ensures that your opinions are part of the project record that would be submitted for public hearings. We do also encourage you to speak during the comment period at this neighborhood meeting and public hearings before Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council. I would like to note that petitions, we've seen petitions submitted in the past. Petitions such as those through change.org aren't necessarily effective because we have no way of really verifying the signatures. The most effective way for you as an individual community member to make your voice heard is to contact city staff directly in writing and participate in the public process. This ensures that your comments are part of the official record. Next slide. So we're getting ready to shift into the public comment period. We do have ground rules for the public comment period. Much like City Council, you get 3 minutes per speaker. Every speaker gets 3 minutes. You'll need to state your name and where you live. We do ask that you keep questions and comments related to the current proposal. We would request that you be additive and not repetitive. So for example, if someone has asked the same question or made the same comment that you have already made, you're definitely encouraged and welcome to make more comments, or you can please just say, my comment has been made already, thank you, or something along those lines. We ask that you be additive and not repetitive related to, I think I already said that, I apologize. We do ask that you be respectful of your community members, city staff, and the applicant team. I will note that staff and the applicant will respond to questions and comments after all callers have spoken. The one exception to that is if we find that we're getting repetitive comments or repetitive questions, we will break in after a speaker or in between speakers to address that specific comment or question. Or if there is any incorrect information being stated, we will break in and make sure all of the facts are correct. So our role and our job is to ensure accurate information is out there and ensure that everyone has their voice heard. So with that, next slide, Dallas. And there you go.
Terrific. So yes, we'll be moving into our public comment time. This is your time to call in. The number to call in is 1-888-788-0099. When prompted, you're going to enter the meeting ID 898-1175-1985. During this time, mute the live stream and make sure that you're listening through the device you call in on. We're going to take a 5-minute break here for callers to call in. I'll call you all back in 5 minutes. Thanks.
Thanks all.
All right, callers, if you are listening in, we have 30 seconds left on our break to call in. Now is the time. Again, that number is 1-888-788-0099. The meeting ID is 898-1175-1985. If you are in the meeting now, again, make sure to mute your live stream and listen to me through the device you are calling in on. That's going to be up to date, and you'll be able to hear when I'm calling on you to ask your questions and comments. With that, we are just about at 5. Yep, that is 5 minutes. If, staff and applicants, you want to come on back, we will start taking our first callers. Let me make sure that I have my list here.
And Dallas, if you'll put up the next slide, if for some reason you do get bumped out of the queue or you lose connection to the queue, feel free to email me and I will let Dallas know to let you back in.
Sounds good. Yes. So we'll be starting a couple things. So because you'll have 3 minutes, I'll give you a warning at 30 seconds. I'll just say 30 seconds. And then at the 3 minutes mark, I'll ask you to state your final comment. We'll then continue on. We're going to start with our first caller with the last 3 digits of your phone number, 964. Caller 964, please hit *6 on your device to unmute. Hello.
Hello.
Mind stating your name and address for the record, please?
Yes, my name is Laura Elizabeth Bailey. I'm at 1311 Carnation Circle.
Laura, you got 3 minutes. Go for it.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I'll start by saying that I'm just extremely disappointed that we're back having this discussion again. I felt like so much was said, seemed like it was being heard by the council last year when we were going through these discussions. The plans have not changed enough to warrant, in my opinion, the amount of high density living that's coming into this really small area of Southwest Longmont. It's too much, it's too fast for our schools, our traffic, our services. The dust hasn't even settled on these multi-unit places that are going up now. We moved here in 2013 because it was Colorado, it was beautiful, and there was space to breathe. There is no longer space to breathe in Longmont. And again, it feels like every square inch of my town is up for sale to the highest bidder. Extremely disappointed that we're having these conversations, and I will be at every meeting to voice my opinion, and I appreciate the time. I'll give you the time back.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
With that, we will go to our next caller with the last 3 digits 032. Caller 032. Please hit *6 on your device to unmute. Hello.
Yes, I am here this evening with 4 ladies.
Before you begin, do you mind muting your live stream in the background or moving away from it? We can hear it through the mic. And then also please state your name and address for the record.
Turn off the computer, Jim. I am here this evening with 4 ladies.
Before you begin, do you mind muting your live stream in the background?
Okay, we came up with several.
Do you mind stating your name and address
questions.
first?
Patricia Vandergrift, 3528 Box Elder Drive, Longmont 80503. I'm here this evening with several other people in our neighborhood, and some of our questions were, will there be one builder or more than one builder for the for sale homes, and approximately how many homes would be for sale, how many habitat homes, and are there still going to be 310 apartments it feels like 310 would be quite a few apartments for that size of a space. So what numbers are we looking at for homes for sale, Habitat homes? And then the apartment numbers.
Do you have any other questions or comments, Patricia?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Those were our questions that this particular group of 4 people came up with.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, you are welcome to stay in the meeting right now. And if you have questions at the end, you can hit *9 to follow up. We will be having our staff and applicants responding to questions once everybody has gone through the call here. We still have a few more callers. Thank you.
Okay, so you're taking questions from callers and then they will be discussed.
Yes. Yep. We're going to take all our callers first. We got about 10 more people behind you. And then after that, we'll be responding.
Okay, so now we can go back to the meeting.
Yep. You're welcome to use the live stream. Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You bet. Have a good one. Thanks.
Make sure to mute your phone, please. I'm sorry, never mind. You got it.
You're good. Yes, we are now going to move on to 076. Caller with the last 3 digits 076. Mind hitting *6 to unmute, please. Hello.
Hi there, this is Linda Bittner of 9455 North 89th Street. I'm in the Schlegel subdivision just to the north. I have a few points to make. First, I'm very pleased to see the changes since the last time around and even since the council meeting a few weeks ago. I'm happy to see the owners and developer are committed to working with Habitat and have an MOU in place. I'm also happy to see for sale units in planning area 2. I'm wondering if Tyler can elaborate at all on what types of structures he sees there. Will those be similar in size and scale to what Habitat will likely produce? And will they be townhomes? And also, like the previous caller, can he give an estimate on the number of units? At the council meeting a few weeks ago, I think we heard 47 Habitat units. So wondering about the numbers on that. Second, I just wanted to reemphasize what I think is really important to coordinate planning with that parcel to the west, the Dry Creek annexation at 9308 North 89th. That parcel won't have any direct access to Airport Road and not to Clover Basin either because of the required setback from the intersection. So coordination is essential for vehicle access, but I also think that coordinating the types of development could end up producing the best types of housing for what will ultimately be, at least if you look at them combined, as 25 acres. Third, I'd really like to encourage development of diverse housing, such as wee cottages, duplexes, and some smaller multi-unit buildings. I'm concerned about the 3-story apartments and how big those will be. I mean, we see a number of those in what is multifamily zoning, not just the commercial. So it's not 4-story apartments, it's 3-story in a lot of places. So I would hope that the buildings here, the rental apartments, would be a little smaller in scale so they fit better with the surrounding neighborhoods. And lastly, again, just want to emphasize what Jennifer said earlier, that there is very little free property available in the Longmont planning area that can still be developed. So given the scarcity of undeveloped land, I think it's crucial we take the time to find the best possible use for each area. We should look at how every parcel fits into the broader city plan, ensuring the development is truly beneficial for all residents, including those in adjacent neighborhoods and throughout the city. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Linda. We'll go on to our next caller. Caller with the last 3 digits 173. Caller 173. Please hit *6 on your device to unmute. Caller with the last 3 digits 173. Please hit *6 to unmute. We'll come back to you, 173. We'll go on to 406. Caller 406, please hit *6 on your device to unmute. Oh, we got 173. Hey, 173, do you mind stating your name and address for the record?
Yeah, Jonathan Hoffland, address is 1036 Willow Creek Circle. The one thing that was not mentioned in Tyler's, or I missed it, was whether or not there's still going to be 310 keys, there. My concerns are similar to some of the other people where the traffic, particularly Clover Basin and South Fordham, where there's been numerous accidents, and then Clover Basin and Airport, where there have been a number of kids hit going to and from school and things like that. So I just want to mention that now is the time that the city has control over, this property and how it's developed. Once it's annexed with the zoning, it kind of limits what the town's control is over it. And I know that there's talk about revision to envision Longmont, and it'd be nice to have that revision take place before we forge forward too fast here. My biggest concern is that, was mentioned, this is a move in the right direction. However, a vast majority of the units are going to be rental property, and there's plenty of apartments, a lot of apartments in the vicinity right now, as well as all this money is going to be going straight out of town. It is not going to be staying in town much on like a rental property that is, rental home or a fourplex that's owned by someone locally. And it just negates any primary jobs that the city tries to get. So we should be considering where that, the long distance, the long-term economic viability of the town. And this is as soon as once they build it for perpetuity, that money's going to be going out of Longmont. So the other thing is I am a developer myself, and I'm developing a piece of property, and I can basically put on what I'm designing and putting on to my property is about half of the it's like 55% of what the total number of units can be. And I just think at a lower density would be more fitting for the neighbors, the neighborhood and the area, particularly given the number of apartments that are already around the area. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. We will keep going down our list. Caller with the last 3 digits 406. Caller 406. Please hit *6 to unmute. Hello.
Hello, this is Diane McDaniel at 9639 North 89th Street.
Go for it, Diane.
Thank you. My first point is there used to be no Southwest Longmont. We were all county. We are still a county enclave. We have absolutely no desire to be annexed. I'm a Boulder County native. Moved here to Sligo Subdivision 93 for the country living, and now we call it apartment. And I'm not trying to be rude, but we miss our country living, and annexing us would just be so not right, and all the costs to do it and everything else. But also putting this many units, I know they're proposing fewer units to play the game, and playing the Habitat for Humanity's game. And they talk about having neighborhood meetings. There has not been one. I talked about cycling around here and talking to the neighbors and saying what we think and stuff like that. And I know everybody's just out for the money, but this development is crazy. And annexing us we have enough foot traffic on our roads without shoulders and without street lights, and it would cost an arm and a leg to do it. So please leave us alone. Kind of in a nutshell.
Any other questions or comments?
I know I'm not trying to be rude. We just miss our country living, and we like to keep what we do have. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Diane.
Thank you.
Go to our next caller. Caller with the last three digits 594. Caller 594. Please hit *6 to unmute. Hello.
Hello, Dallas. My name's Conrad Kowalik, 1043 Willow Creek Circle. We're in the Willow Creek subdivision. Our property backs up to the northeast corner of this proposed development. A lot has been said about apartments. Want to provide some facts. Within a 1 mile radius of this parcel, we have 2,178 existing units already approved and under construction. Another 885 units brings the total in a 1 mile radius to 3,063 units. Currently proposed, not including 310 units in this development, are another 567 units. It's simply too dense. We have apartment saturation. We're missing entry level and middle housing. I have the same questions that our neighbor had posed about how many units will be for sale partnership, ownership, and then are we still 47 units for habitat and how many apartments? So I'd get a better handle on this. Clover Basin is congested currently. I would request that the traffic study be made public. If not, we obviously can request it for public information. I recommend that the council recognizes they have authority to deny this application, or they have the ability to approve it with conditions. They could place certain restrictions, such as limits on density. This has been submitted at the high end, 18 units per acre. Envision lists a range between 6 and 18. The highest level is being proposed. It's 10 times denser than our neighborhood, and it's even more than that compared to Schlegel. So it is a very dense proposal. In addition, some of these things have been mentioned, but public safety, infrastructure, local resources, schools, the quality of life here in this 1 mile radius area of Longmont should be considered. And we would ask that the council would pause apartment development at this time within this 1 mile radius. And we thank you for your consideration and the ability to communicate these concerns to you and the council tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Conrad. Go to our next caller. Caller with the last three digits 149. Caller 149. Please hit *6 to unmute. Hello.
Hi. Yeah, can you hear me, Dallas?
I can. Mind stating your name and address
Great.
for the record, please?
Yeah, it's David Kimmett, 9536 Schlegel Street, Longmont 80503. Thanks for the opportunity to be here this evening, everyone. I have a few comments that go beyond those that are already mentioned. One is that it really is refreshing to see some change. So I'd like to give some kudos to Vista for offering up ideas that are outside of the really confined small box that we've been peering into for well over a year now. So that's great. However, I do question why it took so long to get to this point. Why did we have to be present in order to enforce Longmont's comprehensive plan and the Envision Longmont mixed neighborhood dynamic, as well as the city's residential mixed neighborhood code? Both of those explain the things that are now finally being brought to the table. So I encourage the city going forward to please use your guidebook in Envision Longmont, which is still viable, as well as the city code for residential mixed neighborhood, because we shouldn't have had to have put the developer and the city's feet collectively to the fire to get to this point tonight. I'd really like to see an MOU between Vista and the future for sale developer, whoever that is. The MOU that Vista has with Habitat is great, but we need to see some meat on the bone with an agreement between Vista and whoever this future for sale developer is. I'd also encourage Vista to take a look at a application underway right now at 12775 North 107th Street, called the Gateway North. And it's also a residential mixed neighborhood proposal. They are calling for 14 acres in this 25-acre proposal of small lot residential. We need small lots and we need small square footage houses. So if this residential component in the planning area 2 of the proposal that Tyler brought forth tonight is going to propose something that is not attainable under HUD guidelines, which is 80 to 120% of AMI, or affordable, which is less than 80%, then you'll fail to garner our support. Longmont needs for sale housing, yes, but we don't need large lot, large square footage for sale housing. Yep. And the last point I'd like to make is about the path. I have the multi-use path through the development is great. However, Longmont should enact a development agreement with the developer to create a pathway going northward. If there's going to be access to 89th Street, there should be a path on the east side of 89th Street connecting the development to the existing Dry Creek Greenway at Willow Farm Park. It should not be that pedestrians and cyclists are spill onto 89th. That creates a dangerous situation. There's plenty of room in the right-of-way on 89th for a path that would connect this new proposal at 8902 Quail to Willow Farm Park and the Dry Creek Greenway.
Thanks, David.
Yep, thank you.
We'll go to our next caller. Caller with the last 3 digits 221. Caller 221. Please hit *6 to unmute. Caller with the last 3 digits 221. Please hit *6 to unmute. Gonna pass you for now, 221. We're gonna go to caller 885. Caller with the last 3 digits 885. Please hit *6 to unmute. Hello.
Yes. Hello, this is James Beckman. I live at 9682 Schlegel Street, Longmont, 80503.
Great. Go for it, James.
Thank you for doing this, first of all. And I just want to say, I do understand why the city wants to, it makes sense to annex this to some degree. A higher and better use with something else on it other than just vacant land. And I don't really disagree with the idea of more dense housing. I don't have an issue there. I do, however, do not agree with the build to rent apartments. I do not think. Concern there is that it is a short-term solution, has long-term ramifications and causes long-term problems. Ultimately, it ends up being pretty extractive to city, county, and the state. The money goes out. It does not.
James, do you mind speaking up a little bit? It's a little hard to hear you.
Sure. Make sure I'm not connected to the house. Okay, I'll try to talk louder.
No worries.
Please tell me if I'm still not loud enough.
Yeah.
I do think, too, the concerns brought up by the city council members at the recent annexation meeting, I think were all very valid, and I hope that they should not be ignored. I hope they don't discount the concerns that they had at that point in time. I was a little surprised that they agreed to go through with the annexation process, even though that they had very valid concerns. My biggest concern is this current proposal. It's going to be permanent build-to-rent apartments, and that's attractive. I already said that. It's not an easy task to help kind of direct a city, and I think that's commendable. The city council is doing it. No way you're going to be able to please everybody, but I really do urge city council to take the necessary time to get the right type of housing, to take the time needed to make the right decision for all of this. There's only one chance to say yes to the annexation, so I really hope that they are very picky about what they say yes to. It should not be an okay proposal. It needs to knock it out of the park and everything they want plus more. And that's it. Thank you very much. And
Thank you, James.
wonderful evening.
You too. We'll keep going down our list. Our next number is 086, caller 086. Please hit *6 to unmute. Hello.
Hi, this is Tracy Ibanez at 1409 Clover Creek Drive. Can y'all hear me?
Can hear you, yes.
Excellent, thank you. I am not going to repeat everything because several people have spoken on my concerns. I back up to Clover Basin and I live in the Clover Creek neighborhood. And my biggest concern is density. The developer came back with the same amount of density as originally proposed, even though the community has said that we would not, that it does not match with what is all around it. And it's going to put a big stress on the traffic in the area. I understand that they're going to widen Clover Basin. However, if you cross airport going towards Altona Middle School, it goes down to a single lane. And I don't see how they're going to be able to widen that. So the traffic is going to be ridiculous for driving kids to school or driving in the morning. Trying to leave our neighborhood is very difficult. And if all of the traffic from this development is pouring out on Clover Basin, it will be very difficult to even get out of our neighborhood. We're basically going to be trapped in our neighborhood. Again, I have heard that the developer has spoken with the community and is going to come and speak with the community. I have not spoken to one person. I'm heavily involved in this project that has spoken with the developer. Our city councilman has come and spoken to us before the developer has come and spoken to anybody in my development. So again, I don't want to repeat myself, but as people have said, the density is not acceptable. Pouring out onto Clover Basin, it is not reflective of the neighborhoods around it. And we have asked for lower density. And when we asked, what can you do, Tyler? What's the best you can do? He said 18 units. That was the best he could do. Obviously, it's a push in the right direction that we have more homes for sale, but I'm concerned about the density and the traffic involved in this development, and I think we can do better. And as one of the gentlemen said before me, this is the chance. We're developing land. We only have one shot. This is an annexation project, so we can be picky.
30 seconds.
Let's be more thoughtful on what we're doing. And if we're going to do this project, okay, but let's listen to the community a little bit more and lower that density. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Tracy.
I'm done.
We'll go to our next caller. Caller with the last 3 digits, 833. Caller 833. Please hit *6 to unmute. Hello.
Hello. Hi, my name's Jen Morrison. I'm at 9569 Schlegel Street. I also wanted to say that I appreciate not only the habitat being in writing now, but also the new addition to work with another for sale developer. I'm curious, and I apologize if you already said this during your presentation, Tyler, but I'm curious to know when you might have the information about the developer, what type of housing that might be, if it's possible to prioritize a local developer. I'm also, like other people have asked, just curious to hear like overall numbers, not just the percentage of land area, but like the number of for sale units in each portion, and then also the number of rental units. And are you still going for the 18 DUs per acre? And let's see. Tyler, also, I saw on your website that you guys do some mixed use development. I'm curious to know if there's any way, instead of having all apartments, can you incorporate some mixed use into the rest of the development? And lastly, as a Schlegel resident, I'm curious to know what the plans are to prevent overflow parking from coming onto Quail, North 89th, and Schlegel. So thank you.
Thanks, Jen. We will go to our next caller. Caller with the last 3 digits 549. Caller 549. Please hit *6 on your device to unmute. Caller 549, if you're there, please hit *6 to unmute. Hello.
Hi, I'm Diva Daly. I live at 3800 Pike Road, and a lot of my questions and concerns have been expressed already, so I won't repeat myself or won't repeat those. But I do want to reemphasize that I think the density is too much for that area. I'm concerned about the height limit. It seems to be too much because Longmont has one of the most beautiful views of the Front Range, up and down the Front Range, and it's being blocked by so much of the construction that's going on and the heights that are allowed. So I would encourage to reconsider that, even though that's not in an area where the views are not already blocked, but still, just in general, the height seems to be too much. I'd also like to reinforce the idea of more entry-level housing for sale, and I'm sure Habitat can give you all kinds of statistics about why home ownership is required for stability in a community. And I hope you would take that into consideration. And also consider, I haven't seen anything about design, but so much of what's being built now seems to be very inconsistent with the surroundings that we have. Instead of being inspired by our surroundings, it looks very inconsistent, very institutional in a lot of cases, very cookie cutter, which is not in keeping with some of Longmont's legacy and its potential future. So I would just encourage taking a really close look at design as well. I think that's it for me.
Great.
And thank you.
Thank you. We'll go on to our next caller. Caller with the last 3 digits 380. Caller 380. Please hit *6 to unmute. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Charlene Hamlet. I live at 4022 Somerset Court in Longmont. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. And I will make this brief, as many others have already expressed concerns, as well as many of us during the city council meetings. So one topic that is important to me is safety. There have been many community members already that have expressed safety concerns relative to traffic congestion, nearby schools, etc. But my question is, has there been any consideration given or analysis done relative to safety as it pertains to emergency evacuations, especially in a continuing, highly, I guess, growing high-density area. As one of the many individuals who had to quickly evacuate our home and neighborhood during the Marshall Fire, safety is of utmost concern to us. And I have not seen any specific studies done in this regard, nor has there been any even concerns addressed. The topic has not been addressed by developers and or the city in this regard. And I beg of you actually to please keep this at the forefront as we continue to create more and more density in these areas. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Charlene. We will go on to our next caller. Caller with the last three digits, 532. Caller 532. Please hit *6 to unmute. Hello.
Hi, my name is Dina Schlutz. I'm a resident of 9767 North 89th Street. And the first thing is I did not get a notice of this city meeting because I don't live close enough, I guess. And I just wanted to, again, express my displeasure with the city for ignoring, their rules about notifying people. I think you need to expand it out to all of the residents of a neighborhood. And then as far as this specific annexation, I would agree with the other callers that have called in. They've expressed many of my concerns. I've lived in Longmont, Southwest Longmont, for the last 62 years. And my concern with this 318-unit condo project is a couple more things that haven't been mentioned is what about parking? A development of this scale could easily bring in 500 to 700 cars, depending on the household size. And I was wondering what the ratio is for parking spaces to bedrooms. Also, I was just wondering if the city could provide us with some more statistics as to what they plan on population growth is, where your current bedrooms are at, and how many bedrooms you actually need to add. Because I think a lot of us have seen all this growth going on and all these new apartment complexes going on, but we don't have any data to know really what are your expectations for as a city, so that we can have some context into understanding why this is important. So we're trying to be sold to agree to some things, but we're doing it without full information. And then the other thing that I would like to say is that, you need to pay attention to making this development unique and interesting and have some wow factor to it, so that it's not just another same old. And not that you have to spend more money on things, because I know you're trying to solve an affordable housing crisis, but give some thought to, feng shui and different things that could be very, very interesting. The other thing on the parking is I don't want the overflow to come onto Quail Street into the Schlegel neighborhood. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and we're on to our last caller, caller 221. Caller 221, please hit *6 to unmute. Hello.
Hello, this is Gary Cunningham. I'm at 3609 Sunflower Circle.
Go right ahead.
And I actually wrote in and expressed my concerns and questions as I missed my previous calling. But again, traffic, height, density, everything everybody's already spoke about. And then Clover Creek. Why is it all dumped on Clover Creek? We got all these public roads. Let's use them all. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. With that, that is the end of our call-in list for staff and applicants. If you would like to respond, I see a couple callers are still in the meeting. If you would like, after questions and comments, you can raise your hand by hitting *9. You can have 1 extra minute to ask a follow-up question. But with that, I'll hand it on over to staff.
I'm gonna give it to Tyler first.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Let's see. So I tried to do my best. Jennifer, anybody else from city staff, if I miss a question that was a theme, please let me know. I'm going to use Linda Bittner. She did a really good job of laying everything out and being concise. So I'm going to run off of her questions because they were most of what everyone had to ask. And then I've added some additional ones as we went along. So the first question was around the density, the habitat, and the for sale and the numbers. And the answer is I don't know the number of for sale. We need to select a partner. Each for sale group has what I would call different product types, and that kind of leans into some later questions, which, what are these going to be? Are they paired homes? Are they wee cottages? Are they townhomes? That's going to be up to the for sale builder. So I need to work with them, understand their requirements, and then the major thing we need to do is get a site plan in front of the city so that they can make sure that they have the access that they need. Someone mentioned safety, right? So if I have a single or a for sale community tucked back within a development, I have to make sure with fire and everybody, public works, that they all have safe routes out, that we have public roads going in. So we're going to work with the city to incorporate both habitat, the for sale developer, and Vista's for rent project. That will dictate our overall density. So I don't unfortunately have an answer for that. We've heard the community. The top end of 18 DUs is very dense for everyone. So we're going to look for ways with Habitat, with this for sale partner, and within our own product type here at Vista to back off of that upper limit of density. Linda asked about the 47 units of Habitat. So the 47 units came from a calculation of 15%. So Longmont has a 12% affordability requirement. We really have been enjoying the partnership with Habitat. There have been calls for more affordable housing. So we went above and beyond to the 15%. That equates the total density of 18 DUs, the original 310 units. That's where the 47 townhomes from Habitat comes. So as we reduce the density, that number will go down. So we're going to still target the 15%. The 15% with Habitat is in addition to the for sale product by the developer. So we're doing for sale townhomes with Habitat, another for sale product with a completely different entity. So there will be 3 different entities operating within this. Linda also asked about the neighbors next door. We're doing our best. We're a little bit disconnected with them. So we're trying to make contact and understand what they're programming on their site, where their access needs to be. I'm hoping to get some design from them so we can at least, when we have our design together, at least know what's going on to the west of us so that we can react to it. But right now, I don't have those plans. And my hope is that we can continue to collaborate with the neighbor. What else did Lena? Smaller multi-unit. So someone, I think Dave Kimmett brought this up, small lot residential. Yes, that is our intention. I don't want to bring in a for sale developer that's building a 3,000 square foot house. That's not what we want. That's not what we need here. So these are going to be smaller units. I've personally worked with Boulder Creek in the past. They have a wee cottage product. There's a couple other for sale people that have smaller square footage for sale homes, and that's what we'd be looking. So I think to answer Linda's question directly, it would be a very similar product type to what Habitat's bringing in. So 2 and 3 bedrooms, whether they're attached or not, we don't know. It depends on the partner. But yes, we're not planning on bringing in large residential here. As for when we will have a partnership with a builder, I would guess sometime this fall in the next 2 months. I'd like to make a selection here in the next month. Start working through a plan with them. Dave, I think you're the one that mentioned an MOU with a builder. Happy to provide that. No problems there. So yeah, we'll get you that as soon as we have that partnership formed up. Small lot, let's see. The mixed use question. This is residential zoning, so we're not proposing mixed use. The zoning does not allow us to do mixed use. So my company does do mixed use. This is residential mixed neighborhood. This is for residential uses, so we don't contemplate any mixed use. Parking, good questions. We know that parking, Longmont has gone away with their parking maximums or parking minimums. We are not proposing that. We are going to self-contained parking on site. I think someone asked the question of per bed. I don't know that off the top of my head. And again, this is on the original 310 units. Originally, we were proposing a 1.7 to 8, 1.7 to 1.8 parking ratio per unit. That generally covers larger 2 and 3 bedroom units. Rarely do we end up in a situation where one apartment has 3 cars, say a 3 bedroom. That's a very rare scenario. It's typically families, so a 1 or 2 vehicle per 3 bedroom. So parking wise, we're going to do our best to contain that on site. We'll have the required guest parking. Basically, we're operating on Longmont's old code. And then safety, yes, of course. I hear the request for that. We are very, very far away from that process with the city of Longmont, but that is a normal process we go through with fire. That's why fire's on the call today with Public Works to make sure that if we do have a dense development, that there is an easy access point, and that's the necessity of the emergency vehicle access points on Quail. So we will continue to work with fire in a potential evacuation or safety mitigation scenario. We'll make sure that Mark has all the criteria he needs to safely evacuate the number of people from this area. Mark, I don't know if you want to comment on any of that above and beyond what I've said, but that's definitely something we are required to do with you.
Yes, of course. Thanks, Tyler. Mark Sampson, Assistant Fire Marshal, City of Longmont Fire. We are requiring the emergency access gated. Can I say gated again? Emergency access easement onto Slagle Street, and it's only accessed by emergency responders. So there will be no full access to that, only used by the emergency responders. And for the wildland, right now we are in a grassland area for Longmont. So we're not considered in the quote WUI Wildland Urban Interface Code. So we're in the grassland area. So it's best to talk to your neighbors and everything else that they put up next to their houses to prevent the fire from spreading. That's about all I can say for that. So if you got anything else, Tyler, let me know. But yeah, we'll make sure that we can get everybody out, and we got access and everything else. So
yeah,
appreciate that. Yeah, on the parking question as well, the state of Colorado, state legislature did pass as part of as part of their 2024 legislative session. We can no longer require minimum parking for residential. So that does drive that. A lot of that has to do with affordability and trying to ensure that affordability is, that it's one of the tools in the affordability toolbox. That said, developers aren't going to develop a product in a setting such as this without parking. Their lenders usually won't let them do that. So there will be parking on site. We don't have a per bedroom ratio anymore. But that is something we would be looking at through the site development planning process. So it is a consideration though, but we do have some additional state statutory requirements to consider now as well. Tyler, did you have any other things you wanted to add before I jump in on the city side?
No, I was going to ask if I missed anything.
I think you have.
One thing, Jennifer, I want to circle back to on the evacuation question. The city Longmont does have an emergency management team. They meet monthly. Which in that meeting involves almost all city departments to update our emergency management plans. They also do tabletop exercises, I believe, at least twice a year with the Boulder County as well as the state. So plans are available through our public safety department and our emergency management group if any residents are interested in those.
Yes, and I will say that emergency coordination team meets generally monthly. There are, quite a few subject matter experts looking at all manner of scenarios. So, emergency management planning is definitely at, top of mind on a whole range of hazards as well. I'll also touch base on the parking. There's concern about people potentially having overflow parking on Quail Road. Given that the only access to Quail Road from this site would be for emergency access only, and it would be gated, there would not be any public access from this site to Quail Road. So functionally, I don't see that being attractive at all. But the other thing to note is that Quail Road would not be annexed into the city of Longmont at this time, as part of this project. So parking enforcement would be under the jurisdiction of Boulder County. Related to that, I would like to speak in terms of our annexation policies. There was a question about, a comment that residents of the Schlegel neighborhood did not want to annex into the city. And that is not part of this proposal at all. I would say from the city's annexation policy, we annex property when property owners come to us and want to be annexed. So if you don't want to annex, we would not force you as a general rule. And so that is not something of concern there, I would say. I will note though, there was, from some residents, we did hear, this was a, open country area, this area has been part of the Longmont planning area since at least 1995. I went back through our archives and was looking to see what past plans said, because it's not just Envision Longmont that has shaped this part of shaped Southwest Longmont. It's plans going back to 1995 and before. And so the 1995 plan did clearly identify this area as being appropriate for future residential development. It wasn't real clear on what kind, but it did say future residential development. So this is something that's been talked about for 30 years now. So I do understand, that people are, especially folks who've been in an area for a long time are hesitant to see change, but we are trying to shape it as well as we can in light of 30 plus years of planning efforts in the city of Longmont. The other question, one of the last questions was about population growth and why do we need more housing, or do we have enough? Are we building more housing than our population can support? This is actually one of my areas of expertise. So I will say a big picture, nationwide, and especially in the state of Colorado, since the Great Recession in 2008 and even before then, there has not been adequate housing built to accommodate population growth in general. What I can say for the city of Longmont, especially, but for the country in general, but really what I've looked at for recent trends over the last 15 years or so for the city of Longmont is, while our absolute numbers of population growth are slowing down because we have limited land area left, our absolute numbers are slowing down. However, our average household size has dropped significantly. Even since the 2020 census, our average household size has gone down from almost 2.58 people per household on average to 2.32 people on average. So 0.2 something, people, may not sound like that may not sound like a lot. But when you spread it across a city of 100,000, if you spread it across housing units, that means we need a lot more housing units to accommodate a similar number of people. So I'm sure a lot of folks on this call are probably in this situation. You're living in a home that you raised your family in. Your home used to have 5 people in it because you had, 2 adults and and 2 or 3 kids. You may only have 2 people living in your house. You may only have 1 person living in your house. So that means that even though our population numbers are slowing down, we still need more units to accommodate that because of the reduced household size. And that's a function of our population is aging. It's a function of people are having smaller families. They're either, our birth rates have gone down quite a bit because, as a lot of folks can tell you, it is really expensive to have a kid, and housing costs are expensive. So it's really expensive to do these things. So we are seeing birth rates going down. People are living older. People are living longer, and they're living on their own longer. So you're not seeing that turnover in housing that you used to see where someone would move out and downsize and then a young family would buy your house. You're not seeing that as much. So it's just that's what the data is telling us. That's what the data statewide is telling us. That's what the data nationwide is telling us in urban areas that are experiencing any kind of growth. So that's really where we are there. And with that, I will step off my demographic soapbox and turn it over to Marie and the engineering folks to talk about the the traffic question.
Hello, Marie Nicholson, head civil engineer with Public Works and Development Review. We had several questions that we have had over and over again, but I will iterate the same answers that we have from before to all of you and answer the questions that we got tonight specifically. The first question we had was talking about the adjacent development that is coming through the Dry Creek annexation and this annexation. The city is requiring that this annexation and the Dry Creek annexation work together and provide consistent public right-of-way access between each to provide, especially the Dry Creek annexation isn't able to, like the caller said, go onto Clover Basin without sharing an access with this development. And this development has already stated that if for some reason they're ahead, they would build out the full right-of-way on their side and allow access from that development on there as well. So that access on the west that would be shared with this development would go north through the Dry Creek and up to Box Elder. And then about halfway up right now, conceptually, between both sites, there will be a public right-of-way that goes east-west, and that will loop around down to Larkspur. And this developer has added right-of-way along Clover Basin because right now the right-of-way is currently right at the asphalt on Clover Basin. And that's I'll talk about that in a second. So that was the first question. Traffic is known to be bad at Clover Basin and South Fordham and Clover Basin and Airport. This is an existing condition that is not terribly impacted by this development or any development that's going to come in there. It is already failing at those intersections. However, failing traffic at intersections doesn't necessarily mean that it's completely unsafe. It just means that you're going to have trouble getting through there with vehicles. We do know that Clover Basin and South Fordham in particular is a bad intersection. And it is in our CIP that so for a project to fix that intersection by the city. However, it's unfunded currently, and all development in the city pays traffic impact fees that will fund these projects going forward. So hopefully, this will get funded, and that will be a city thing. Jen, do you want to hop in on that one?
Oh, no, I'm going to wait till you're done.
Okay. All right. So that's one thing that we were talking about. Clover Basin Fordham is known to be a problem. However, this development is not responsible for that intersection. They're not touching that intersection, and they aren't extremely exacerbating the situation. They are showing, sorry, the other one was Airport and Clover Basin. We had a number of crashes at that intersection, and traffic department implemented a protected left turn only. And since that time that they've implemented that, fixing the signal, the crash data has gone down. So that's a good thing the city has done. And let's see the next one. The traffic impact study is a public record and is being updated, being required to be updated by our traffic engineer. So they will, when they return it, it's going to be updated with the current counts, and that submittal can be given to you, anybody. It's public record. Just reach out to one of us, or you can submit a court request for that. The multi-use path requested along Quail to the west, the multi-use path requested to go north on North 89th Street is not a requirement from our department. We requested a multi-use path to go along Quail on their property to connect the Box Elder Street and Wildfire Circle, and then down to Clover Basin. So we have interconnectivity in a multi-use path. If the developer wants to coordinate with the Boulder County and create, and they want to coordinate with private property owners, they can do that. However, we're not seeing anything, and we're not requiring that as a city to go north to Dry Creek or to the Willow Farm Park. Clover Basin across Airport is not being widened with this project. That's way out of their scope. There is a traffic control device warranted at Larkspur, and per the traffic impact study and the city recommendation and their traffic engineer, we've agreed on a roundabout being put in at Larkspur. So that's part of this concept plan, and is part of their agreement with the annexation that there will be a roundabout. That means that currently people being trapped on Larkspur trying to get out, going left, going to school, will actually not be trapped anymore. So hopefully that's an improvement for people. Additionally, they are upgrading the pedestrian crossings around there to have more protection, and the bus stops. So that is all requirements that the city is going to require on them. And all of this will be reviewed, and it's not that the city is letting things slide. Every time there's a review, we do not accept it if they're not meeting our requirements. That's how the process goes. Let's see, and the last thing is railroads under the jurisdiction of Boulder County. So if anybody was parking there, Boulder County would need to get involved and restrict and enforce parking on Quail. Heading over to Jim. Thank you.
So just to clarify a few things Marie had indicated or said, the crash history at Clover Basin and Airport, the city every year does a annual crash report. It sums up the previous 5 years, total number of crashes throughout the city. So in the period of 2014 to 2018, there were approximately 31 crashes in that 5-year period at Airport, Clover Basin. In the time period from 2019 to 2023, there were only 21. Crashes have been reduced. As Marie indicated, that the last traffic study that the applicant did indicated that a portion of that signal is meeting what's called a level of service. Level of service is kind of how we categorize intersections for time-based. And then we put a letter to them. A is good or the greatest, and then E and F are bad and does not meet the city standard. That intersection for most of the movements is acceptable. It meets level of service C's or D's. Only on the north and southbound left turns does it meet a level of service F, and it meets a level of service F today. So anything the developer does to add more trips is not going to make it any worse. But that was due in part because there were several accidents with school children in 2019, and the city instituted a protected left turn, which is why that is now a failing movement. One of the other criteria the city institutes or what we are doing currently outside of this development is the city is undertaking a Vision Zero initiative. That is an initiative of traffic safety wherein we do a number of different improvements and or education to reduce serious accidents and fatalities to a number zero. Part of that will involve reducing speed limits throughout the city. Studies have been undertaken and done wherein the higher you're traveling, higher rate of travel, the more damage you will do. Physics, it makes sense. So we are looking more than likely next year. City will be evaluating most of our roads, and I would anticipate that Clover Basin would be lowered from 35 to 30 in this area. And then as the developer moves forward and builds, we'll see their design plans. But as Marie indicated, we're not looking to widen out Clover Basin. It won't be anything wider than a 3-lane section. But the developer will be responsible for building a curb and gutter and trail and green space along the north side of Clover Basin, pretty much matching what's on the south side. And that's really all I wanted to add. Thanks, Marie.
Thanks, Jen. Anyone else from our side have anything to add? I think we covered all of the questions. Tyler, is there anything else that you would care to
I
say?
don't think so, no.
All right. Well, I think we've covered everything. If anyone on the call has any additional thoughts after the meeting, please reach out and feel free to email me or Tyler or Phil Taylor, and we will get you in the right direction as far as who can answer that question. And then from there, here's our contact information on the screen. So I would like to thank you for your time. And hopefully some of your questions have been answered. It is a complex project. It's a complex issue. We have a lot of things that we have to consider as part of this process, moving forward with this and every other annexation and major application that we review. So we definitely welcome your comments. So please reach out. Sending your comments in writing is going to be the best way to ensure that they become part of the project record that is provided to City Council as part of and Planning and Zoning Commission as part of any public hearing. So again, thank you so much for your time this evening. This live stream has been recorded or is being recorded and will be available for future viewing on the City of Longmont YouTube channel. So if you have any neighbors who weren't able to tune in, you can let them know that they can watch it after the fact at their convenience. And if there's anything that you would like to rewatch, that option is there as well. So with that, I would like to thank Tyler and his team. I would also like to thank everyone from the city side, Mark, Marie, Jim, Dallas, Phil, and Sam. So with that, have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
We leave now?
Thanks all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dallas.